by the Sea podcast. My name is Lisa, and I am coming to you from Marblehead, Massachusetts, which is a little harbor town about 20 minutes north of Boston. I live in a very old house. I'm very lucky to live here. This house was built in 1750 and was converted into a residence in 1800. I haven't been here for a while. Things have been busy, as I'm sure life has been for everyone. But I wanted to kind of come on today and catch you up with everything. So today we will take a look at my finished objects, because I do have just a few. We will look at some works in progress. I'll look at some spinning that I've been doing, and then we'll end up with some chatter. So let's get started. Finished objects. I have a few since it's been a while. The first one, of course, is what I'm wearing, and this is the Sheep Camp sweater, and it is by Jennifer Berg, and I am in love with it. I love it. It's just so comfortable, easy to wear, easy to knit. It was just a joy all around. I used Morocco DK, vintage DK, and I got this yarn actually at Marblehead Knits, my local yarn shop, so I was very lucky to find this here. Jennifer, actually, I think she had done this in a white color, maybe with I forget what the contrast color was here, but I really thought that I really like this orange color, perfect for the fall, and so I really like it. I really like the colors that I chose, and I think they contrast really well. The nice thing about this pattern is that Jennifer actually gives you two charts for this. It's the same chart for the pattern, but it flips light to dark. So you can choose a dark color for your main color, your background, and a light color for the contrast, and do it the opposite way that I did it, and you still will then have a chart to do that, because there is nothing worse. I find I've done this 1,000 times, and I'm sure everyone who's watching has done this too, but if you work from a chart and you're using either colors or you're using a contrast color, inevitably I will do a row where I will be mixed up as to which is which, and have to go back and either frog it or tink it out and start that row again. So it happens quite a bit. So I really appreciated that, and I actually told her that in a message. And I think I have seen that now in one other pattern. I don't remember the pattern, but I think that is great, and I'm hoping that more knit designers will do that. If you're putting a chart in, it's very, very helpful, especially if there's only two. If you have multicolored things, you can't really do that, but if you have two colors, a dark color and a light color, giving you two different charts is really a bonus, I think. So I'm very, very happy with this. I wore this to the New England Fiber Fest that we went to last weekend, and I actually had several people comment on it, and I had one lady stop me and wanted to know exactly which one it was. I had to find it for her on Ravelry. But I'll put all of the information about all the patterns that I talk about in the description box down below, so you'll see this. So yes, this is the Sheep Camp by Jennifer Berg. Perfectly happy with this. You can make it's a little bit cropped. I made it a little bit longer. It doesn't have any patterning on the bottom, but you could certainly put patterning on the bottom if you wanted to, and you could also put patterning around the arms here. You can make these arms any length you want. I just wanted them 3/4 because I thought it would look a nice contrast with the black turtleneck, and super happy with this. I couldn't recommend it. I couldn't recommend this pattern more. So I'm very, very happy with this one. My next finished object is a Bits and Bobs blanket. I know I had shown this in progress before, but I actually finished it, and I did a cute little crochet edging on it too, in some contrast in the contrast color yarn. So I think it was really pretty. But it's just basically a little blanket for the crib, or for taking out in a stroller, and it's just so comfortable and so squishy, and I'm sure it will be warm, and I can't wait to give it to her. She and her husband, a friend of ours, and her husband are having a baby in February. We did not know what she was having when I started this blanket, but she in fact is going to have a little baby boy. But this is very neutral colors, so I'm very, very happy with it, very pleased with it. Bits and Bobs. You've seen this before by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. I've made one before, and I'm making another one, so you'll see that in a little while as well. But super happy to have this all done and just be able to put that away for February when the baby comes. The next project that I finished was a really quick one, but I really enjoyed it. And this is called the Sheep Gates. I think I'm saying that right, Rachel. And that's by Rachel Challoner, and she is from Bee Crofts, or she does the Fair Isle Through a Lens podcast on YouTube, so check that out. She is a farmer, a sheep. She has sheep on a croft in the island of Fair Isle. So she lives there with her sheep and does this all by herself. She finally just started to be able to have enough fleece from her own sheep to process. So this year she actually put out a first offering of some yarn. I wasn't able to get that, but I did pick up this really cute pattern that she put together. And when she knit it, she used her own yarn. But I just used some scraps. I think these are basically probably Knit Picks Wool of the Andes that I just kind of had in the closet there. But it's super cute. It's just this lovely little cowl, and they have it has some cables on it. It's a little harder to see because of the colors that I chose. But I am really happy with this too. It's super warm. The bottom and the top flare out a little bit, so it really frames your face when you put it on under a coat. So this is going to be certainly one of my go-tos this winter as I head out into the cold. We don't have any snow yet, but I don't even want to think about it. But I know that it's coming. I know that it is coming. Well, also because, as you also know, I do work in Boston, and we are back in the office now 2 days a week, and which is fine, but I do have a commute. So Marblehead is literally 20 miles as the crow flies into Boston, but it's a 2-hour commute from here. I take a bus and I take the T, 2 different lines on the T in Boston to get there. So I have some time on the bus in the morning when I do go in, and usually I'm knitting on a pair of socks because it's just so convenient, and just pull it out, put it back in your bag, and it just makes for a really easy project. So I'm always knitting socks. And you also know, if you've watched before, that Sophia, my daughter Sophia, and I had the amazing opportunity to go to Egypt this past July, and I had a lot of plane time. And I had some time because we did a 5-day cruise down the Nile, so I had some time in the afternoons on the boat that we were on as well. So I did do some knitting. And this summer I was part of the Blue Stocking Pattern Club, which is a pattern club put out by Kate Davis, and it was great. She puts together such a wonderful club. Each of the socks patterns that she put together were of women that were part of the original Blue Stocking Club. And she tells information, she gives you information about all of them. We had newsletters about them. We had different articles that came out. And then you had the opportunity or the choice as part of the club either to get all of the patterns plus all the written material in a hardcover or an actual book, or you could opt to get it as a digital download, and I just opted to get that as a digital download. So I have it all together in one place, and it's really great. I really enjoyed these patterns. She's very thoughtful with what she did. They're all toe up. That's my jam. So I was super happy about that. The one I liked the most, I think I made 3 patterns out of them. I want to say that there were 6, and I think I've knit 3 of the patterns. My favorite pattern is called, I'm going to look it up here, Phyllis Wheatley Peters socks, and I've knit them twice. The first time I knit them, it was with this gorgeous Desert Vista Dye Works self-striping yarn. I just love this. This was it's a very special skein of yarn from Desert Vista Dye Works, and I took this up to Egypt. So this was my main project in Egypt, and they're just a really simple lace pattern up the front, toe up the front. I forget the actual heel that's in the pattern, but I usually use the Fish Lips Kiss heel because it fits me well and it's really easy to remember and to do. So just up the top, and it has a twisted rib up at the top. I do have 2 of them, and I really enjoyed this so much, sitting on the Sudan in the afternoon with a cup of mint tea and knitting. It would have been a little better if it was a little cooler, but that's okay. It was great to knit on the Nile. It was really a lot of fun. I like this pattern so much that I knit another pair. And this is just, I don't really remember, this is some stash yarn that I had, but when I came home, I knit a second pair. Toe up, same pattern, but you can see how different these patterns look in a different type of sock yarn. This is just a variegated, and then the self-striping, you can really see it. It really pulls it out. But super pattern, I really recommend. I think the patterns are all available individually now, but the whole stocking club, the whole blue stocking club was really great. That was really fun, a fun thing to participate in. I have some other socks as well. I'm going to pull them up here. The other, I also found a pattern, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. You know, so a lot of times I will just do a rib pattern on a sock. Sometimes, you know, I don't know. I have some patterns that I'll pick up and do. But I'm really, because I'm on a bus most of the time when I'm knitting them, I don't really have the option to have a big pattern in front of me. So as long as I can have a pattern on my phone, I'm really good. Or I'm just going to be doing a basic rib sock. I hardly ever just do plain vanilla. I get too bored with that, so I need to have something. So usually it's just some type of a rib. Sometimes I'll do some fancier things, but I found a pair of socks called the Simple Skype Socks by Adrienne Koo. And I actually have had these in my library on Ravelry forever, and I never really looked at them. It's a free pattern, but I'm going to take one of these off here. But it's super simple, and it's, you know, basically you're basically doing a rib, but a super simple rib, easy to memorize, and you know exactly where you are by looking at your knitting, and it just gives you enough interest and enough contrast to do it. It's really slip stitches and purl stitches. It's just a rib, super easy to do. This is I don't remember the brand, but it obviously is self-striping sock yarn. I am still knitting from that big bag of sock yarn that a wonderful viewer of the podcast sent to me, and I'm still going through it. I can't believe I still have it, and it was such a wonderful gift, and I am happily making my way through it. But that's what this yarn is, and I also have 2 of these. I finished these. I think this is another pair that I actually started on the plane home from Egypt because it was a super simple pattern to do when you're tied up on the plane. I have another one, the exact same pattern. I'm really kind of addicted to this right now. I keep thinking about, well, I'll try another one, and then I just go back. I'm like, no, I'm just going to do that pattern because it's really easy, and I know just what I'm doing. And so here again, same. This is the batch of sock yarn that I was gifted, but another one, really simple pattern, but enough interest to kind of keep you going, or keep me anyway. I know a lot of people just love a plain vanilla sock, and I just need a little something. Just need a little bit of something a little fizz to keep me going. So I think I probably have more socks, but I think that's enough for now. So those are the Simple Skype socks. I really highly recommend that pattern as well, and it's free on Ravelry. Really easy, really easy. I should say I don't know how the sound is going to be. You may hear, if you hear any guitar noises or kind of a bass in the background. Mark is actually, he probably back in, it was in the springtime. I might have mentioned this before, but he decided that he wasn't going to do rowing anymore. He had to go into the hospital for kidney stone, which is just terribly painful, and he just is certainly worried because those come back. He didn't want to be out on the water by himself if something like that happened. He had that whole incident with the whale breaching fairly close to him a couple of summers ago. I think the water was super warm, and we had this whole grouping of, I think they were right whales. I don't really remember what they were, but they were up here, and there was one week where they were just feeding right off of Marblehead, and he was out rowing by himself, and just, there were all these bubbles all of a sudden all around, and it was, when you're rowing, you're rowing back, and you're facing forward. Luckily, this happened in front of him, and it literally was a whale just came. I wish he had been able to take a picture, but obviously he couldn't. But a whale just breached literally right in front of him. So easily could have smashed down on top of him, just not knowing. So easily could have come up underneath him. So that kind of spooked him a little bit. Not that we have whales out here a lot. That was a kind of a once in a lifetime experience. But the serious problem are the sharks. I'm sure you've heard, of course, the sharks on the sharks are coming up onto Cape Cod. They are off of Marblehead. They're just there's so many of them, and it's really because it's definitely an issue, and I'm not sure the answer to solve it, but I think it's mostly that people now on the Cape and in Massachusetts and New York and New Jersey really just have to be very, very aware and just stay out of the water in the early morning and at dusk, and just pay attention to the lifeguards. But the seal population, because the seals are protected species here in the United States now, and their population has just gone crazy. It's amazing. It's perfectly fine. But when there are seals, the sharks come, and the water, of course, is very warm. It's getting warmer with climate change, so there are more and more sharks out here, more and more seals. We have one of the islands that's just basically rock out here outside of the harbor. There's always seals on it. So that's the other issue. He's very, very, he was obviously very concerned about that. I think that's his biggest fear is a shark attack. That probably wouldn't be a good thing to have happen. So anyway, that's a long story to say that he decided at the beginning of the summer that he wasn't going to row anymore. And so he ended up selling his boat, because he had a really nice boat, and he sold his boat right away. It was one of those boats that, I mean, I don't know that much about it, but it was an older boat, and when those go up for sale, they get grabbed. And so his got grabbed, really good price. And so he's always been interested in playing guitar. He had an older guitar, but what he decided to do is that he was going to shift his focus from rowing to playing a guitar, which is great. So he took that money that he made on the boat and bought a really, really nice Taylor guitar. But along with that, he also said to himself, if I'm going to buy this really expensive Taylor guitar, I need to take lessons. So he has been taking lessons at this great teacher, this guy, he's great, Luigi. He comes to our house every 2 weeks, and they spend 2 or 3 hours practicing guitar. So anyway, so Luigi is coming this afternoon, so that's why I took this opportunity to be upstairs in our bedroom to do this. But depending upon what they're doing, there may be some bass noises or some guitar strumming in the background that I don't even hear anymore because I hear it every week. But anyway, that's a long story, a long explanation to say that there might be some extra noise in the background that I am not hearing, just to let you know what that is. Never know what's going to be going on around here. Today, it's guitar playing. The last project that I wanted to show you this was really fun. And as you know, I am a knitter. I do know how to crochet, but I am not a big crocheter. I crocheted a lot when I was a kid. I used to make granny square blankets. I just did a lot of crocheting when I was a kid. I think for me, it was probably like a bigger bang for my buck. Like I could do more things with crochet than I could with knitting. My grandmother taught me how to knit, but I didn't really have the dollars, or my family didn't have the dollar to spend on a lot of really nice yarn, and I didn't have someone to show me how to do a sweater or something. So basically, my knitting was kind of like, just knitting squares. And I found crochet, taught myself how to crochet. So I don't crochet. If you saw me crochet, you'd be like, whoa, that is not the way to do it, but it's what I've been doing since I was a kid. So perfectly fine, works for me. But I don't do a lot of it because I did a lot when I was a kid. But I have picked it up. I'll have some scraps. This particular one is some scraps left over from a handspun that I did, and it's super soft handspun. I was like, you know what? Let me look up a pattern, and I found one actually on YouTube. It's called the Easy Beginner Shell Stitch Scarf by Kirsten Redfield Crafts. I just want to look and see, make sure. And I'll put a link on the bottom, down below. But it's a really simple shell stitch, which is really easy, and it's one of those things where once you get going, again, you know exactly what you're doing. When you're doing it, it's perfect. Watching TV, crocheting, so I love it. And I think you can make this into, you just knit it straight. I attached it, so I've made it a cowl. I think it's meant to be just a scarf, but I really like cowls, so I did this. But you can see, so this is some beautiful handspun that I did a while ago. And it's just, It's super pretty, and it's just incredibly, incredibly soft. So for me, I really like these long cowls because my office space is somewhat, it's not necessarily cold, but my particular cube is right underneath a fan. So in the wintertime, it's a little chilly. We all have we all have heaters under our desk. Yeah, it's very inefficient, but I think this is great. I think I made a couple for Christmas gifts last year for my mother-in-law and my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and I may do that too. May do that now this year. I have some other scrap yarn that I might do that with. It was really super simple and super soft, and I really like it. I like cowls because then I can literally wear a turtleneck and throw a cowl on, and I'm good. I'm good for the day. I don't have to have a sweater on necessarily. So super simple, easy beginner shell stitch scarf by Kirsten Redfield Crafts, and I definitely recommend that as well if you're interested in getting into a little bit of crochet this winter. So I think that's all unfinished objects. That's enough for right now. So let's move on. Well, actually, I can move on to some. I'll move on to some spinning. I have also been doing some spinning, which I really am happy about. I'm getting back to some spinning. And I recently purchased some really beautiful, beautiful merino from Kayleen of Little Bean Loves Yarn on Etsy. And again, I'll link on the bottom. But Kayleen lives in Marblehead, so she lives a few blocks away. So I really love her color sense. And she also does yarn, but I really like to get the fiber from her. We knit with her yarn as well before. But this is this beautiful, beautiful merino. So it's all these blues and greens, and I think there are probably some pops of, there might be some pops of red, deep burgundy in there underneath all that. But this was beautiful. I super enjoyed doing this. It's knit to a worsted to a worsted weight, and I thought I would show you. I don't know how many of you maybe have this or not, but if you spin, you kind of need to know what your yarn is come out to be, so you can figure it out. You can spin it thin and do a fingering weight, or for this is worsted weight. But I have this tool that I have had for years and years and years, and it is basically a wraps per inch tool. And you basically just take the end of your yarn that you've created and stick it in the tool, and then wrap it around the number of wraps. You can see this for 1 inch. And so I just wrapped 10 wraps for 1 inch on this the wraps per inch tool. And then you have your handy dandy chart, and you can see that 9 to 11 wraps is a worsted weight yarn, and it has everything. It has lace is 35 or more wraps around, fingering weight is 19 to 22, sport 15 to 18. So this is really great. It has a gauge per inch, needle sizes or hook sizes for crochet. This is really a great little tool. I probably had this for 20 years. It was very, very inexpensive, but if you're a spinner, you already have this. If you're new to spinning, this is a great little tool to pick up. Most knitting shops will have something like this, and it was super convenient, and I use it all the time. So wraps per inch tool, it's great. So this actually came out to be a worsted weight, which is what I was hoping for. And what I'm going to do with this is I am going to make the Wintersol sweater by Jennifer Steingass. And I'll put a picture of it up here so you can see what it is. It is a beautiful, beautiful sweater. I really like what she does with sweaters. And has anybody seen on her Instagram her new sweater? It isn't even out yet. She's still working it. It is absolutely gorgeous. It has like a leaf pattern that goes down and around and around. It's stunning, and I'm sure that everybody is going to be knitting that when it finally comes out. So I will be knitting it when it finally comes out. But that's beside the point. The Wintersol sweater is really beautiful, and it is. I think she designed it back in 2018, and that right now she's doing mostly. I think she's either doing bottom up or top down sweaters. This one is one of the hybrid ones, and there's a term for it, and I can't remember what it was. If I find it, I'll put it up here as well. But it is the type of sweater where you start out provisionally underneath the bust line, and then you work up and do all of the yoke patterning up to the neck. You leave the sleeves, and then you work down from the bust line down to the length of the sweater that you want. That really worked for me because I got to do the fun part at the beginning, but I also knew what all the measurements were, and so I knew I could see it as I was doing it, that it was right. And then you do the two arms, and you do the bottom of the sweater. That is what I use to do the NG sweater, and that is like my favorite go-to sweater. I'm always pulling that out and putting it on. And so I'm really looking forward to this. So I'm going to use this. It is a 3-color. You can see in the picture it's 3 colors, and I got the 2 basic colors are coming from Knit Picks, just Wool of the Andes, and then I'm going to use this as the dark contrast color. And I think this is going to be beautiful in it. I'm really looking forward to it because I know that it's a sweater that I will wear because I know it's going to fit me well. I know it's going to be super comfortable. And I'm just looking forward to knitting that this winter. I also have some other spinning on the go. I didn't bring it upstairs, but I got again from Kayleen, Little Bean Loves Yarn, some beautiful orange. It's like orange and dark. It's a perfect mix of this sweater, really fall colors, Thanksgiving colors, and I'm really happy with that. I actually got 2 bags, so I have a full 8 ounces. I got 2 4-ounce bags, so I'm gonna be able to get a lot out of that. I'm not sure what I'll do with it yet, but I'm looking forward to it, and I already started it. And again, it's just like this. It spins like butter. It's so super soft, and I just love it. I'm really happy to be pulling out that spinning wheel, and I need to be more intentional about this because I really enjoy the spinning, and I love using it to either do a contrast or just add it to something else. So I just need to do it. I just need to do it more. It's extremely relaxing. Knitting is relaxing, but spinning is just super relaxing for me, and so I need to make an effort to do more of it. But that's my spinning for right now. So now we can move on to my works in progress. Works in progress. If you are a returning viewer to this channel, you know that I have in the past tried to keep myself to 3 projects. I usually will have a pair of socks on the go, I will have a sweater, and then maybe I will have one other thing, like a cowl or something like that. During the pandemic, that kind of went out the window. I didn't go crazy, but I think I have more than 3. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. I can get through it. I can survive with more than that. Let me see. What am I going to show you first? I told you that I started another Bits and Bobs blanket. I really like this pattern. It's such a joy. Oh, it's such a joy to do, and it's just beautiful. We use the other one. It's just down on our couch, and we use it all the time. I'm always pulling it out, and I just love it. And the best part about this pattern, I think, is that you're using scraps. So you're using leftover fingering weight yarn, really, from other projects that you've had. And you know we all have bags of leftovers, and you never know what to do with them. And I know we have, advent calendars or advent projects that you can do, and they're striped and things, but those don't often appeal to me. I don't really like trying to figure out and look seriously at the color matches because I didn't purchase or wasn't gifted any of these yarns in any particular order, and I would have used them basically for socks, so they would have been a one-off project. And I'm not particularly enamored of having to go through them and line them up and see what colors would go well together, like you kind of need to do if you're going to do some type of a striped project. But the Bits and Bobs is you just grabbing and going, which I really like. Now you don't have to. I mean, I think in Kay's original pattern, she used a cream color and held that all the way through with all of the other different colors that she used. My preference is because I have so many just bits and bobs, I just kind of pull out 2 random ones. I start the pattern and I'll do it in those 2 colors for maybe about an inch. And then I'll switch out one of the colors and do another inch, and then switch out the other color and add something in and do another inch. And what happens is just this mosaic of unexpected color. And it's all very appealing to me because it's all yarn that I've used for other projects. So I like the colors, or it's perhaps yarn that someone has gifted to me who knows my preferences, and I like the colors. So it's really fun to see. And because I'm just kind of grabbing and going, I'm picking colors that I would never normally put together. You would never put them side by side, but when you knit them together with 2 strands, because this is all done with 2 strands, I think it just makes an amazing mosaic of just gorgeousness. That's all I can say. So I just started this one. I don't pick it up all the time, but I do have it. It's kind of down in my basket. So if I'm so tired, I just need something to watch TV with, I can pull this out and go. And I have had folks try this and start it and feel like it's difficult at the beginning. And I would say that it is for the first maybe 4 or so rows. You just need to pay attention to what you're doing, because at the beginning you can't see what's happening, and it looks like you're doing something. It looks like you're doing something wrong. But if you try it, and I would just you just try it on a small piece. Take 20 or 30 stitches and just try it. You could make like a pot holder or something out of it if you wanted to. But try it and give it a try, and just pay attention to what the pattern is telling you to do. Once you've done 4 or 5 rows, all of a sudden you're looking at it, you're going, oh, I get it. I see what's going on. And you don't need the pattern anymore, because you're going to see exactly the stitch that you're knitting through the bottom loop, and then you can see the stitch that you're just knitting. And because it's back and forth, it's exactly the same on both sides. So I would say if you've tried this and you got frustrated in the first couple of rows, keep on going, try it again. And really, it's just a blanket. So if you mess up someplace in here, the first couple rows, it doesn't matter. It's just a blanket. It's just knitting. It doesn't matter. There is no one who's going to come and say, oh my gosh, this is not right here on these first 2 rows. Because it's really, once you get going, it's really super easy to see exactly where you are and what you're doing. So here's my second one so far. And this just happens, it kind of looks a little bit brighter. It's a little more muted in real life, but it's got some browns and some purples and some lighter colors in it. But right now I am knitting with, and there's even some sparkle in this. I didn't realize I pulled it out this morning. I was like, oh wait, this is sparkly yarn I've got. But I'm using these 2 colors together. Now these are not 2 colors that I would put together striping at all. They really wouldn't look good. But put together this way, so they're being knit together, it's perfectly beautiful, and it just flows. And because I'm dropping one color every inch or so and adding another color, it all just blends. It just blends right in, but with no particular idea in mind. And literally, I have, as we all have a bag full of partial balls of all kinds of stuff. And so what I try to do is try to like go way down to the bottom and pull something up, and this would be completely different yarn. Now I wouldn't put this in here to stripe it, but I'll put it together with another color. You won't even know that it's so bright. So I really like this. This is just one of those patterns I just like to have one kind of on the go all the time. It's great to pull out, and it's just a lot of fun. And if you like to look at the colors, this is perfect for it. And it's like super no stress about this whatsoever. I don't have any time frame. I'm not making it for anybody. I'm just making it for me. It's going to just add it to our couch downstairs, and it's great. I love it. I just highly recommend it. I can't say enough about that pattern. The second one that I will show you, let me see which bag is that in? So 1, here's 2. This is it. This is almost finished, but it's not really yet, because I have to sew it up and put some buttons on it. So anyway, once again, for our friend who's having a baby, I did a little baby surprise jacket. So let's see. So here's the baby surprise, and this is by Elizabeth Zimmerman, and I love this because it just looks like, what the heck is this? it's just a blob. It's a blob, and you don't have any idea what is going to happen with this as you're knitting it through, and she's telling you where to increase and where to decrease and where to put your, you're doing this because it's increasing fullness in the back, and you're doing something else because it's increasing fullness in the arms, and you're like, I don't know, but luckily I've done several of these, and it just is, it's just as magic when it's finally finished. And so as I said, I need to sew this up and I need to add some little buttons. But actually, this is what it looks like when you put it together. It's just a little cute little jacket for a baby. So I have to find some perfect buttons, and I need to sew the top seams along there, and it's just perfect. So this is almost done. This is with just some really basic acrylic yarn, because I know, it's going to get thrown in the wash, so I didn't want to do anything fancy with this, but I think this will be really fun and really cute to do for her. So almost done. So that's really good. Done with the knitting anyway. I just need to finish the sewing and add some buttons to that. So that's really good. Let's see. My next one is one I am really enjoying this. Really enjoying this one. Here, let's see where it is. So my next project is called the Faye Cowl, and it is by Emma Barnaby. She does the Tiny Desk Knitting channel on YouTube, and Emma's great. She loves to do Fair Isle knitting. I mean, that is her jam. That is her thing. I think she's Sophia's age, so maybe a little bit younger. I forget. Maybe she's Sophia's age. But I came across Emma because Emma's mom is good friends with my two friends that live in Burlington, Vermont. So my friends Kathy and Scott, they're friends with Emma's parents. So my friend Kathy had sent me a note a year ago now, I think, and saying, hey, you should check out Emma's podcast. She's doing a new podcast, and it's knitting. I know you're a knitter, and you should check her out. And she is great. She's so enthusiastic. But if you are interested in Fair Isle knitting at all, she is amazing. I do not even know how she gets all her projects done in time. I think she's made like hundreds of pairs of mittens. Fair Isle mittens are Norwegian mittens, beautiful colorwork mittens. She's done so many all over Fair Isle sweaters, and she is just super enthusiastic. She loves to use the real Shetland yarn, and yeah, she is great. She really gets into the nitty gritty of what she's doing. So again, Tiny Desk Knitting. So she put together a pattern for a cowl, and it is great. I love it. So what I am doing now, normally, on this type of a cowl, it's just two colors. I think Emma did hers in a gray and a blue. So basically what it is that the outside is one pattern, and then you're going to knit two tubes basically and put it inside out. So it's a double thickness on a cowl, and the outside is dark and light, whichever you choose for the contrast, and then the inside is the opposite. So what I have, do you remember those cones that I have of Jameson and Smith? Well, this is what was left on one of those cones. So I wound that off I needed to see if I had enough. And then I had a skein of this beautiful purples and blues and blacks, lavender. It's just gorgeous yarn. So variegated yarn. And I wasn't sure. I'm like, well, maybe I'll make maybe I'll get some yarn to make the contrast. And then these kind of happened to fall together. And I was like, you know what? I think I'll do this. And so what's cool about this, and people have already said this on Instagram, I love the colors that you've chosen. That's really interesting. But I'm only using one yarn, so I'm not changing colors at all, but the yarn is changing colors. So here it is, and I can show you. And I am enjoying this so much. So this is the pattern. This will be the outside. And then the inside is a little different pattern, but the inside will be mostly the dark color will be the dominant color on it. But isn't that gorgeous? I love it. I just love it. I'm having so much fun. I am, doing 2-color Fair Isle knitting, but I'm not changing the colors, because I'm only using 2 balls of yarn, which is fantastic. But it's a great way to do it. And so, the colors will get darker and lighter based on the purples as well. So it looks like I'm changing color, but I'm really not. I'm just, the yarn is doing all the work for me. So I am really, really happy with this. I try to get in, this is the kind of thing, I don't take this on the bus. No, I would not be able to do this on the bus. But I will get up in the morning, and when it's all quiet in the house, and I'll spend, try to do 2 or 3 or 4 rows in the morning, and it's just so much fun. When I knit Fair Isle, I am a fickle knitter. Some days I hold both yarns in one hand and drop and wrap. Some days I will hold them in two hands and tension them that way. So I'm doing one hand English style, one hand continental style. I don't have a preference one way or the other. I tend to use the two-handed method when I have long floats. So if I have maybe 12 of one color going across, I will use the two-handed method, because then I will catch the float with the other hand, and that's harder to do when you're just dropping and picking up on one. So, to each his own, but kind of what I feel like in the morning, which way I wanna do it. I can do it both ways. And probably the two-handed one is more efficient, but I think Emma just does the one hand. She actually is a combination knitter, so I think she knits through the back loop, and every single time she knits through the back loop, so everything lies a little bit differently, but she finds, I think that was the way she was taught when she was a youngster, and so that's just what she does, but yeah, I am super happy with this, especially now that it gets going. You started provisionally, so that's what the crazy orange colors is left over from this. You start provisionally because you're going to attach the inside to this when you're done with that, and then it will go in. It'll tuck inside, so you'll have a double layer of warmth. But yeah, super happy with this. And this has gotten me back. I haven't done any Fair Isle knitting like this in a while, so I'm really happy about this. I did purchase the Shetland Wool Week package this year. It was all virtual this year, but I did purchase the package, and so I got to see, they had different videos that they posted each day that you got to see. They had special coupons for some of the shops. I didn't really purchase anything, but coming along with it was the Shetland Wool Week annual, so I haven't gotten that yet, but I will get that. And I think I've already gotten the download. They give you a digital version, and then you get the actual hard copy version in the mail as well. So I already have that. So there's so many beautiful Fair Isle patterns in that as well. So I'm like, oh, so many patterns to knit, so little time. But I'm really enjoying this, and this is really fun. And I'm glad I decided to do this, and I didn't have to. I'm getting some really interesting color shifts, and I didn't have to make any decisions about what color to use with this, and I think it's just really a lovely contrast. I think it's just going to come out. It will look very impressive. It's easy to do, but it'll look very, very impressive to folks. So I'm really happy with this. So this is one of the projects that I'm really happy to work on pretty much every day, as long as I can. And then I have, well, this one I just finished one. So, Hey Brownberry, the Hey Brownberry podcast, is coming out with a new pattern, and she put a call out for test knitters, and I volunteered to do that, and so we have the pattern. It's called the Pop Socks. I'm not giving anything away. It's not a secret test knit, and it is it's a heavier weight sock. So here it is. This is the first one I did. So it's really cool. Toe up sock, and it has some extra. The nice part about it is it's going to be a left and a right, because it gives you some extra spacing depending upon which sock you're knitting. It has this really cool extra padding on the bottom, and for the heel, for the heel, and then just really super simple color work. Really very, very simple color work. So you use heavier yarn. So that's what this is all about. So I finished the first one. I have to do the second one. So look for this. I'll give a shout out when it actually comes out, and that will be really fun. So so I still have to knit the second one, but I knit the first one and made all my comments on that. So that's great. Again, I'm not she only asked you to knit to finish one by the deadline. So I've done that. So I can do the other one at my leisure. So that will be nice. And then the one other thing that I wanted to show you, I just had to re-plug it in. The battery was beeping at me. But as I had mentioned before, I met up Sophia and our friend Sarah, and came down from Burlington, and the three of us met up with my sister-in-law Tracy and her daughter Kate, my niece Kate, at the New England Fiber Festival, which was out in Springfield this past weekend. It was really nice to go. We didn't go to Rhinebeck this year, as I had mentioned. It just, too much COVID for me to go to Rhinebeck, and there weren't places to stay, and next year will be a better year for that. But the New England Fiber Festival is right, it's about 2.5 hours away, so it was a really easy drive. And so we thought we would go and we would meet up, and it was delightful. It was delightful. I got to see some people, got to see Carol, Foster Sheep Farm, and I bought some yarn from her. And it was just delightful. We had a wonderful lunch. We looked around. We took in all the yarny goodness and the fumes, and had a really nice time. It was just nice to get back to being able to go to some yarn festivals, and that made me very, 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 very happy. But while I was there, I'll show you what was there. Actually, I'll put up a picture here of what I'm going to make of this. I'm going to be making the Satellite Cowl by Meg Gadsby. Meg is a beautiful, oh my gosh, she just designs beautiful cowls and shawls. I think she's Australian, as I recall, but I've made things by her before. I really like them. She put out just recently a new cowl pattern, and it's beautiful, and it's a mix of fingering weight and lace weight. And so I went in search of some yarn to do this specifically. And what I found, this is the first one. This is from Carol at Foster Sheep Farm, and she is doing some dyeing, and this is indigo dyeing that she did. So this is just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful yarn. It's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. And yeah, I saw this color, and I'm like, that's the color. And so then my quest was to find some lace weight to go with it. And I was looking for some lace, like mohair weight, to make it like a little bit fuzzy. And we found the perfect skein, and that was from Dragonfly Fibers, called Silver Fox Fairy. So it is just beautiful and fuzzy, and it's perfect. It's this beautiful, lovely, light, silvery gray color, and that is going to just go absolutely perfect with this indigo dyed fingering weight yarn. The indigo dye, it's very light, so it really is like it is almost a pewter color itself. It's very much on the gray side of the indigo, but it is, I just can't wait to get into this. I'm going to try to hold off and finish my fake cowl before I dig into this. I'll have some time at Thanksgiving and Christmas, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm really looking forward to getting into that. And then I did make one other purchase when I came back from Egypt. I forget, I think I saw this somewhere. Someone mentioned it to me on Instagram, and this is from Bluebird Yarn and on Etsy. And she was doing a Hercule Poirot set of fingering weight yarn, and so I could not resist after coming back from my trip and all of the Agatha Christie references from being on the boat and the Death on the Nile, etc. And so I picked up this beautiful skein of yarn. So this will be a pair of socks. It is sock yarn. This will be a pair of socks. I'm not quite sure what pattern I'll make out of it yet, but this will be a pair of socks, and you can see her. This is her Bluebird yarns, and it's called Hickory Dickory Dock, so it's a reference to an Agatha Christie Hercule Poirot story. Super pretty. Really looking forward to dig into this as well. So, okay, so as you see, that I have quite a few works in progress. So I have plenty to keep me busy as the weather gets colder. All right, so now we can move on to some chatter. So, what has been happening? Quite a bit. It's been a while. I don't even know where to start. I've already told you about the New England Fiber Fest. We had a great time at that. Next year, we'll be Rhinebeck. We'll definitely make plans. We haven't yet, but we'll definitely be making plans. I'm assuming that COVID will be even more farther away than it is right now, and we'll be making plans for that. Speaking of COVID, Mark and I are scheduled for, or able to get our booster shot in December, so we will be doing that as soon as that's available. We are obviously fully vaccinated. Sophia is fully vaccinated, and she'll be able to get a booster shot again, I think December, January. She was a little later than us, so she should be, I think, by January. My in-laws have had their booster shots, so that is great. They're as protected as they can be right now. My mother-in-law has been very sick. She's fine now, but she has been sick. She was sick over the summer. She had pneumonia twice. I actually think she's had the same pneumonia. They just actually didn't get rid of it all, unfortunately. So she was pretty sick this summer. I just felt bad for her. Last summer she had fallen off of her bike and she had done some real damage to the skin of her legs, and so she wasn't able to do much the summer before, plus COVID. And so this year she hasn't been able to do too much either, just because she's just been down with the pneumonia. But that seems to have subsided now. I'm really happy. She seems to have a lot more energy. They're watching it. She goes to a pulmonologist every month or so, and they're definitely watching it. She may just kind of have a small case of kind of walking pneumonia, so that she always has a little bit of it. They can't quite get it to go away, but she seems a lot better, and her breathing is a lot better now than it certainly has been earlier in the summer. Poor Mark has had another bout with kidney stone. He's had to go into the emergency room again this summer as well. It's been a long one. We finally went back to school. As I said, we were originally going back. Had to go back in 3 days a week, but then it got switched down to 2 days a week, just within our own group, that just the coverage that we needed. So that got pushed back to 2 days, it's so much better that way. I have everything set up. Well, not here, but at my in-laws. The whole bedroom is all set up for my office. I have my laptop there. I have my extra screen. I feel so much more efficient there. I can get things done, and I can take breaks during the day when because I'm able to be efficient and really get things done. And I'm finding when I go into the office, those days I'm in the office, I feel very inefficient. You still are having a Zoom meeting because there's only one other person from your office or department in your area. So anybody you're meeting with, you're still meeting on Zoom, and our desktop computers at work don't have cameras embedded in them. So you either have to either get a camera, or you have to, what I've done, or bring your laptop in. But for me, that's a 2-hour commute, lugging the laptop in. It was crazy. So I ended up, what I started doing was bringing in my iPad, because I have Teams on the iPad, I have Zoom on the iPad, and I can do my meetings there using the iPad. And I still have to find, we're in cubicles, so I still have to find one of the offices that isn't being used where I can close the door and have a meeting with someone or with my group. It's just very, very inefficient. I also got a small little camera to go on to attach to the desktop that I have at school. But that doesn't really, it's fine, but it doesn't work great because you really have no privacy still, because we're in cubicles. It's really just, it's just crazy. And they've made a lot of changes to we're separate offices now, where we were a student service center before, and these changes got made in the spring, and it was just very, not a really positive situation, the way that it was handled. So we're still struggling with that. I think kind of our identity as an office. The other thing that has happened in my office, which has happened everywhere in the United States, I don't know how it is in other countries, but people just are leaving and looking for, either leaving their jobs and just leaving their jobs and not doing anything for a while, or they're taking other jobs. So we have an office, just the financial aid office, our own office, that normally is staffed with 9 people. I have 4 right now. I have 5 openings. So, and it feels like every week somebody else is leaving. So I'm really hoping that the people that are here now are staying. But suddenly over the last month, I have now am doing the job, not the entire job, but some of the pieces of 4 other jobs. So, yeah, so my time has been, my time and energy really has been kind of focused on that, as you can imagine. Now, hopefully, in a few months' time, we'll have hired some new people. Some things will have straightened out. But right now, it's pretty intense. So being able to work from home feels so much calmer to me. So I'm really grateful that we're still right now able to do the 3 days at home, 2 in the office. It really just feels better. We have meetings. We don't even meet with students in person. We either talk to them on the phone or we are meeting with them over Zoom too. So, and Wentworth is also, we're an institution where we're tested every week. So I was looking back at the list. I think I've probably been tested for COVID 17 or 18 times since this whole thing started, and all negative. That includes having to get tests for Egypt and on the way back. But every week, in order to be on campus, you have to have a negative COVID test, and they pay for it, and you just go over to the testing hub once a week and get swabbed, and you're on your way. You get a note, and we have an app that we have to submit symptoms, and that's where our test results show up. But so it's a whole new world. It's just a whole new world. I don't anticipate us going back full time at all. I mean, I think the way we're working right now, working remotely, works really well. We don't need to see students. We really do. We are paperless, so everything really is is just on the computer. So I'm hoping that we're going to stay like this for a while. But in the midst of all this, Sophia and I were so lucky. I still feel so incredibly lucky that we got to go to Egypt this summer. What an amazing, amazing trip! If you're subscribed to the channel, the video before, I put together kind of a montage of all the places that we went, and just pictures and pictures. I'll put some pictures at the end here today, but just you can go back and look at that. It's not very long. It's maybe 15-20 minutes long, but it's just a video kind of montage of everything that we did and everywhere we went when we were in Egypt. But it was an amazing, amazing trip. The Egyptian economy is begging for tourists. I mean, that's really what it's based on. Everywhere we went, Egypt at that time, so this was in July, so it was still 50% capacity. So every hotel was 50% capacity, restaurants, everything was at 50%. So there still were not a lot of people, all the places that we went. But the people that we did meet, we had an Egyptologist and a driver with us wherever we went. We were never alone outside of our hotels, which was really pretty amazing. And this is just what Sophia's company, Oddly Travel, does when they send people over. Everything is literally taken care of for you. If you have an issue, you can call your consultant, and they'll help you out with everything. Everybody was just fabulous. The Egyptologists were amazing. So much interesting information. 2 of them were women, which was fantastic. It was, Cairo was our first stop, and it's a very noisy, kind of dirty city. Super high energy. The traffic is like, you're in a car, you can't even watch the traffic because you'll go crazy, because it's total mayhem. It's just pure mayhem. But we had a lovely hotel there, which looked out over at the pyramids. They were kind of like on the other side of the highway. The pyramids are very close to Cairo. It's not, you don't ever see the perspective. When you see pictures of the pyramids, it looks like they're just in the middle of the desert. Now they are in the desert, but they are like right a highway away from the city of Cairo. So it does take a bit to get there, and we did travel out to all of them. So the day that we went, we started very early in the morning, went all the way out. We went into, I think it was the Red Pyramid, and we actually, that was our first one. I think that was the scariest, not scary, but it was just, I didn't really know what to expect, because you're going into this, you're going backwards into this pyramid, so you're climbing down backwards, and it's not really steps, they're just kind of these wooden slats that you have to go on, and you just, all you see in front of you is the light getting smaller and smaller as you're going down and down. Now, it was amazing when we got down there. You could see some of just, this wasn't a decorate, this is one of the earlier pyramids, so this really was just to see what it was like inside and to see how they held the ceilings up. It was really cool. But then, of course, you had to walk back up again. And you have to remember that the other thing about that was that it was very, very hot. I mean, July is not the time to go to Egypt, of course, because it was literally 110 every single day that we were there. Now, all of the cars everything was super air conditioned. Obviously, the hotels were air conditioned. Everywhere we ate was air conditioned. The pyramids are not air conditioned. The places that we went to are not air conditioned, of course, and so we were in the heat. But everywhere you went, I mean, your guides always, you had fresh bottles of water. I mean, we drank so much water. I was really worried that we'd be like drinking so much water, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. Not a problem. Not a problem whatsoever, because you're just drinking that water and it's sweating out of you, drinking it and sweating it. So it was definitely very hot. I think we got used to that after a couple of days, though, so it didn't feel so bad. We've also both lived in Florida, so it felt like Florida. It definitely felt like that. There were some the pyramids and the temples were pretty humid. The outside air wasn't humid, but inside was pretty humid when we were in any of those sites. The people were amazing, full of just amazing knowledge. Loved having us there. Were very excited to see us. They really wanted to show off their country. Just super happy. It was super. I felt super safe. It was not like we weren't gonna. I wouldn't like just walk out into Cairo by myself just because you wouldn't know where you were going. But I felt super safe everywhere we went. Obviously, all the hotels were lovely, and so we did all the pyramids. We saw the pyramids. We went to the old Egyptian museum, which was really kind of cool to see, and that's where we saw all of the gold pieces from King Tut's tomb were there, and we got to see that. And then we went to one of the newer museums where all the pharaohs are. So they have a specific museum that they just finished building that have the pharaohs, and the pharaohs, they had this big parade, and they brought the pharaohs in and put them into this new museum, and that was really phenomenal. The new museum is it's huge. I mean, I think you probably one of those things where you could take a week to look at everything in this. It is not completed yet. It was supposed to be completed, but then COVID. So they haven't completed it yet. But when it is complete, it will be amazing. And it sounds like what they're trying to do is to make this brand new museum, which is right next to the pyramids, and it will kind of be an entire area, almost like what we would have as a state park here, so that everything is connected, so there wouldn't be any outside traffic. You would go to the pyramids through this museum, and you would actually be able to stay on site. They're going to build a couple of hotels, so you could stay on site. There will be restaurants on site, so you could make an entire vacation of it right there, just exploring this museum and going to the pyramids, etc. So that's really something amazing that is coming for Cairo. And then after Cairo, we went then to get on the boat, which is the Sudan, and that is the boat that Agatha Christie took down the Nile, and was her setting when she got off of that ship, when she started writing Death on the Nile, the Hercule Poirot novel. That is where she set that novel, and the David Suchet, I forget the year. I'll put a link to it down here, but it's on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing. When they made a movie of it, they actually made the movie on the boat on the Sudan that we were there, and the crew that is on the Sudan were there when they made this movie. So most of the crew on the ship have been there for 20 years. I mean, this is what they do. And so that was really fun. We actually watched the movie one night. So we're on the ship watching the movie that was filmed on the ship. It was really a surreal experience. But that was really nice. I can certainly see maybe in December, January being on the Sudan, going down the Nile with lovely breezes coming on would be phenomenal. It was hot for us, but you can see the amazing. It was still amazing. That was really nice because we were on there for 5 nights, which was phenomenal because we took day trips off. So we would, and our Egyptologist guides were on the boat with us, and they had several guides based on the language of the travelers. So there was Sophia and myself, and there was another family of 3, husband, wife, and a son, who were Americans, and so we had an English speaking guide, Dr. Mohammed, who was amazing. And then there were some Spanish folks, and then there were French. And so they each had different guides who spoke their language on there, which was that was really fun. But it was nice because we were the same group of people, and we were on the boat. We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, and so we kind of got to know each other. That was really nice to just be able to kind of like ease into staying in one place for five nights and meeting people and not having to think about where you're going to eat or what you're going to eat. Everything was taken care of, and then to go out on these extraordinary day trips to see the temples and to go out to the Valley of the Kings. That was pretty amazing. Going out there, that's where we got to see. We went into King Tut's tomb, and in normal times, you can wait up to 8 hours to get into King Tut's tomb. Sometimes it's not even open. They kind of rotate the different tombs that were open. The day we were there, Tut's tomb was open, so we got to go. There were literally the 5 of us, the 5 Americans, and the guides don't go down into the tomb with you. So we were the only ones in there. And normally there's like hundreds of people trying to get in. So we were really, really lucky that we got to go in and see. King Tut is actually still in that tomb, so they didn't move him out, so he's still there. But then the other tombs are so much more elaborate, and the paintings on the walls are amazing. The hieroglyphs are amazing, and the process that they went through. They would draw things on the stone first. Well, they had to dig it out, but they would draw the pictures, then they would carve the pictures, and then they would paint the hieroglyphs. So, and their actual paint is still there. They used a mixture of honey and beeswax, and it just seeped into the stone. So the actual colors are still there. They're not touched up. Amazing. It's just amazing. Blues and reds and yellows. It's all lit up. And of course, these things, they survived because they were in the dark for thousands of years. Really just the most impressive. I think the most impressive for me, what really was the Valley of the Kings, going into each of those tombs, was just because you walk, they were these really very, very wide areas to walk down, and you go down and down, and you don't actually realize it's very gradual. You're going down and down and down, and you have to walk back up. But it's not like that first tomb that we went into. It's all wide, it's all lit, it's stairs and steps, and you're looking at everything on the sides, and an amazing painting. And then we also went to several different temples. A temple at Luxor. We saw a light show at night that was just phenomenal. And we went out to, on our very last day there, we went to Abu Simbel, which is 3 hours away. So that was in Aswan. We had gotten off the boat in Aswan, and then we had a couple of days there, and that's when we went out to Abu Simbel. But that's the big temple that they had to move out of the path of the dam. And that was really a phenomenal experience. I mean, it was one of those things where we were in the middle of the desert. We had a flat tire, and I was saying to Sophia afterwards, we had been there, for 14 days already. I was like, oh, whatever. We're just going to pull over to the side. Here we are in the middle of the desert. Didn't even feel. I'm like, well, the guy, he's going to change the tire, and then we'll be on our way. Didn't feel uncomfortable about that at all. And a truck pulled up full of 20 farmers, and they all got out, and we're helping them change. Most of them were just kind of looking around, and as they do, and giving their advice. And then there was actually one person who was helping our guide change the tire. But yeah, that was not even an issue. And so that was really amazing to go out there at the end. And then we had to fly back to Cairo, and then back from Cairo to Frankfurt, and then Frankfurt back to here, back to the United States. But it was a 15-day trip. I think the most nerve-wracking part of it was having to have a negative COVID test before you got on the plane. They checked you in Boston, and we had to get a test here that had to be, it couldn't have been more than 72 hours of getting to Cairo. And then we also had to have a negative test 72 hours before stepping back into the United States, even though we were vaccinated. So that we had to be tested in Aswan. So that was a little bit stressful as well. But oddly, I mean, they took care of everything. We shouldn't have been stressed about it. Everything was 100% taken care of for us, not a problem. And we were negative and we're able to come back into the country. But it was really an amazing trip. Mark was great here, took care of the cat for 15 days. Had everything. We had lists for him of all the things that he needed to do. So that really worked out. That worked out great. It was just an amazing, once in a lifetime trip. And I'm really glad we got to do. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it again this year, because don't forget, this has been postponed for 2 years. We were supposed to go 2 years ago, and couldn't go. So yeah, that was pretty. That just certainly made my summer. So that was the most amazing thing. We are getting ready for Thanksgiving here in the United States. We are hosting Thanksgiving here at our house. Most families will have a turkey. Mark is kind of tired of having a turkey, so we're going to actually cook 2 chickens. He's been practicing deboning chickens and stuffing them and cooking them. I think it's called a galantine, maybe something like that. We're using the Jacques Pepin recipe. So we're going to be doing that. I think Christmas is going to be at my in-laws. We'll probably do a lot of cooking for that, though, even though we'll be there. Dinner will be there. But I'm looking forward to it. We have a couple of days off for Thanksgiving, and then once December 15th rolls around, there's students go home after that, so we don't actually need to be on campus at all for a couple of weeks, and then we have the week between Christmas and New Year's off. So we'll be home from December 15th until January 3rd or 4th, whatever that date is. And that will be nice. I'm looking forward to lots of knitting time. Lots of Netflix watching. Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to that. We just started getting the new Shetland series. I'm kind of saving that. Only the first episode is out right now, but I'm kind of saving that. I want to get a couple episodes ahead. We can watch it. I think it's on BritBox if you have a subscription, but that's out now. I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm so excited to see that. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So probably more will be out by the time I get around to Christmas. So maybe I'll do some binging of that. But I am looking forward to doing some knitting, doing some spinning. We'll be getting our Christmas tree. Might have to put it in a different place this year because of where we stored the air conditioner, and we took the air conditioner out. So it's always a challenge in an old house like this. It is always a challenge, but I think we'll be up to it. I think all will be well. We are still wearing masks everywhere we go, even though we're fully vaccinated. I'm probably going to continue doing that for a while yet. Some places, the city of Salem still requires you to wear a mask in any indoor places, so we have to do that. Marblehead does not, but I'd say the majority of people are still doing, especially if you're a little bit older, you're wearing a mask. But now here in this country, the kids are starting to get vaccinated, which is great. So I think it's down to 5-year-olds now, 5-year-olds and up. It was at 12-year-olds and up, but now it's back down to 5-year-olds. So that'll be good for the kids. That'll be like, I think most of the kids are just like, yeah, I don't understand what all the hoo-ha is. I want to get a shot because I want to be able to play with my friends and have my teachers be vaccinated and go to school like I used to go to school. So hopefully we'll continue. Hopefully you are all well and are not affected negatively by COVID, other than having to protect yourself against it. Yeah, and so I guess that's it from here. So just remember, it's just knitting. Talk to you later.